Okay, so a couple bits of housekeeping first. So when you pick up the first piece and you pass over other pieces, which will happen because there will be inventory, you notice that the piece you're moving is not on top of the other pieces. You place it. Now we're going to grab a second piece. When we grab the second piece, suddenly everything is going transparent, which we don't want. So we need to clean up those two things. And that's really easy. First, to have the piece that you're moving always be on top, we simply need to change the order in layer. So, when you left click and you pick up the object, we simply need to change get component renderer in sorting order, and we'll bring it all the way up to 10. So let's go ahead and save that. Run it. Now it's on top. But once it gets placed, we don't want it to be on top, because what happens is when you move the next piece, it won't be on, well, it will technically be on top because it's 10, but it's better to fix that. So yes, it would still be on top because the next one also gets moved to 10, but it's just as well to undo this. So when you place it, so here is the successful placement because here's the trigger collision, and here's the fact that the names match, and you have right clicked. So you just set it back to 0 because everything is defaulting to 0. Let's go ahead and run that. So left click, it's on top. Right click, left click, it's on top. Now we just have to handle the transparency. The reason why that is happening is because when you right click, input.get key down isn't looking at where the key is being pressed, because if it's a key in the keyboard, obviously it's just looking for a key strike. So same thing, even though it's the mouse, it's not looking to see where you're pointing when you're right clicking, it's just looking to see if the right mouse has been clicked at all. So in other words, every single object this script is attached to, its check placement is being set to yes. So in other words, we only want this to happen if the mouse is being clicked and the piece is being moved around. So that's easy enough. We have piece status here. So this was an easy fix. So now we'll just say, okay, if the mouse has been clicked, and need a double equal sign there, and piece status is set to picked up. I believe that is the right amount of parentheses. Looks it. So you pick up a piece, drop it, pick up another piece, and see they're no longer going transparent because they have not been set to check placement yes. The only one that's set to check placement yes is the one that I'm moving. Okay, so that was a little bit of housekeeping, and now we can proceed with the main lesson. So now let's go ahead and save our work so far. So go up to File, Save Scene As, and we'll just call this Puzzle 1. Now what we need to do is we need to create our inventory. So I'm going to move these pieces off to the side. And now at the bottom here, we're going to take this image and drag and drop it into our hierarchy. Now it's rotated the wrong way because I want it to be rotated so it's along the left side of the the scene. So we can just rotate this. We'll just set this to rotation 90. And slide it over. And let's see how that looks compared to a puzzle piece. Okay, so A, it needs to be below the puzzle piece. B, the puzzle piece is really a little bit too big. And those are all kinds of things, like I said, the size of the puzzle piece is something you're going to plan out. More than likely, you're going to use a lot more pieces than I did. I did 5 by 5 for simplicity's sake. You can easily make this 10 by 10 if you want. So we'll make this a little bit wider too. So we'll scale the X. Actually, it would be scaling the Y since it's rotated. So we'll bring that out to 1.3. And we will scale actually the X a little bit too. That way it basically dominates the border. Okay, brief splice there while I tested a few things. So it's important to get the pieces lined up so they're not crowded with each other, because what's going to happen is they're going to scroll a set amount of distance, and so you don't want to see like a portion of a piece clipped. So we're going to take these pieces over here. You'll need to line them up manually because I already lined them up. Okay, so the left border is going to be somewhere around -7.2, so it's within the image. The vertical is going to be 3.6, 1.2, -1.2, and -3.6. So it's nice because they match top to bottom. So basically 1.2, 3.6, -1.2, -3.6. And what's going to happen is that space is the same amount of space for everything above it and below it. So we're going to take this one, slide it over here, also give it the -7.2 horizontal, and since we said this is -3.6, then this one should go out to -6 even. Run it, you can't see that. It's not clipped. And now let's go ahead and just create one more puzzle piece, just so we can scroll one in the opposite direction. We'll make this a 5 since we skipped it originally. And it needs to be the 5th one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we'll scroll that one up. And as I said, the positions are inverses of each other, so that means this should be a +6. So it makes it very easy to track. So the takeaway is that the difference is 2.4. So you've established their position when the scene loads. Now it's about modifying that with the scroll wheel. Okay, so now we need to have some code that maintains the inventory position. So you can either create a separate script that does that and attach it to all the puzzle pieces, or you can just use the pre-existing script. It's pretty much a wash depending on which one you want to do. The benefit to having a separate script is it helps you organize what you're doing. But the trade-off is that if you have a separate script, then you're probably going to have to convert some variables into static variables. So for now, we're just going to use the same script. Now, up to this point, we've used these predefined routines, the on mouse down, on trigger stay, update, start. you can actually create a routine of your own and direct Unity to use that routine. So the main difference is that these automatically happen based on certain events, whereas the routine you create, you have to tell Unity when you want it to be triggered. So let's go down to the bottom and create our own. We'll call it void inv control. So inventory control. What we'll do is in it we'll say if, and I just wrote down the code in a separate text file so I wouldn't mess it up. If input.getAccess mouse scroll wheel is greater than 0. So similar to the other input commands we've seen, this one just explicitly states, though, mouse scroll wheel. Whereas the other one has a variable that you usually assign the mouse to or assign a keyboard key to. So if the mouse scroll wheel is greater than 0, so that's when you scroll up, you want something to happen. So what you want is you want the position of everything the script is attached to scroll. So what we can do is we can take, let's go ahead and create a new variable. We'll call it public float, and we'll call it y diff, so the difference in y. And when you scroll this, we want something to happen. What we want to happen is transform dot position, so the position in which the object that the script is attached to, we want it to be changed. So new vector 2, we want to keep its current horizontal position, so negative 7.2 we said. Drop an F after that since you're using a decimal. But we want to do something with its vertical position. We want it to be changed, and we said that we want it to be changed by 2.4. So transform that position dot y minus 2.4f. So if the mouse wheel is scrolled in a certain direction, then the object the script is attached to have the horizontal position be set to 7.2 negative, and take its current y position and modify it by 2.4. Okay, so with that in place, what we need to do then is we now need to tell Unity to actually perform this task. So in the update section, you simply do inventory control parentheses. That's it. It's that easy to call a routine that you've created. So let's save that. We'll run it. And we'll scroll up. Yep, so the scroll up worked. And we'll keep scrolling up. Now we're scrolling up on the wheel, but everything is scrolling down, so we might want to switch that up. We'll say is less than 0, and we want it to add 2.4. So now it should scroll in both directions. So we're going to scroll up. Now we scroll down. Perfect. That easy. So with that done, if you've decided that instead of trying to place a piece, you want to return it to its inventory, rather than having to scroll to its position and manually drop it in there, we just want a single button press return to inventory. So to do that, we're going to have to add another variable. So we added the variable for this, which we have not utilized yet, but we need one more too. So public vector2, so we're going to be storing coordinates. So public vector2, and it's going to be we'll call it INV POS, so inventory position. So when you click on an object to pick it up, so that's in here, let's grab the position. So so that new variable we just created, inventory POS, INV POS, is equal to, actually I think we can just do transform.position rather than the whole get component. So the mouse is pressed down on an object, take the position of that object, drop it into this variable. So what's going to happen is when you say that you want to return the object back to the inventory position, okay, this is part of what you need. You also need to know how much you've scrolled up and down, and that's why we created that Y diff earlier. So let's just add a key code for letting go of the piece. So public key code, let's use the space, so return to INV, save it, although by doing this it gets added to, yeah, technically it's getting added to every puzzle piece, so we might eventually want to drop that into a separate game master script, but for now don't think it's going to cause any issues. Oops, not backspace, sorry. We said we wanted just space. Okay, so now Unity is checking to see if the space key is being pressed. So this can be part of the inventory control function. So if input dot get key down and return to inventory. Oops, that didn't work. Return to inventory. So if the return to inventory key is pressed, we want something to happen. So if, actually we can just, we'll put it up here rather than having a separate if. And piece status is equal to picked up, because we only want that one piece to be affected. So if you have pressed the space key and the variable picked up, the variable piece status is set to picked up, then you want it to be returned to inventory. So transform dot position equals, so we said the inventory position is always -7.2, comma, inventory position, because that's what we grabbed when we clicked on it in the inventory, dot y, because this is just the y coordinate we're looking for, and we want it to be modified by change in y, so y diff, which we haven't really done anything yet. Okay, so when we click on the object, we store the inventory position, so the position at the time of clicking, into this. When we want to place it back into inventory, we need to use that position, but we need to modify it by any up and down scrolling that has occurred. So that means y diff needs to be altered in here. So y diff minus equals 2.4 f, and here y diff plus equals 2.4 f. So that should do it, because basically you care about the net. So if you've scrolled up 3 times and you scroll down once, you want to care about the difference, which is 2 times. So I believe that should work. And I probably forgot an equal sign. So 90/28. Yep. And 92/82. Oh, that probably has to be F. Yeah. Yeah, that should be fine, because inventory position is inherently an XY coordinate. You shouldn't have to drill down with this. Let's try that again. This placement, we also need to then change the piece status. Or else it just automatically grabs it again, because the piece status is still picked up. Because once I placed it, then it dropped into the right location. So let's try that again. Scroll up 1. Now we'll there we go. So that was it. But let's make sure that this is still working. Okay, so unfortunately scrolling pulls it back. So we do just need one more status then. So when it is placed, P status is locked. So what we need to do is we want the inventory control to only take effect for things that are not locked either, because this script is attached to all pieces, so this is adjusting all pieces positions. So and piece status is not equal to locked. I believe that should be all it takes. Save it. So we'll click, scroll a couple times, we'll place, we'll scroll again, and it doesn't grab it. Excellent. We'll grab this, hit the space, it returns, grab this, place this. Excellent. Okay, so unless there's some glitch that I'm missing in the testing here, this is actually looking okay. Alright then. So that should do it for this video then. If I detect a glitch or discover a glitch in between videos, I will adjust and make a debug at the beginning of the next video like I did for this one.